Next weekend is the third annual Army Marathon, and here to explain the meaning behind it and how to join in is Ed Bandis. I didn't even ask you, am I pronouncing that correctly?
That is correct, yes.
Yes. You are also the marathon's CEO and a former Marine. So let me get this straight. You've got Army and Marine, soldiers and Marines coming together. This could get downright nasty and competitive.
You know, there's always a fun little rivalry between them, but when we're coming together for a good cause like this, when we're trying to help all of our service members, and all of our heroes, you know, law enforcement, firefighters, EMS guys, we all kind of join together. So yeah, there's always going to be a fun sibling rivalry between the services, but in this case, we all come together to do the right thing. So.
And anyone can join in on the fun.
Absolutely. This is open to anyone and everyone. Our intent is to honor the service of all of our military members, our law enforcement, our firefighters. Basically, our tagline is "We run with heroes," and anybody who wears a uniform and stands between you and a bad guy, we consider it a hero. So what we're trying to do is raise awareness and funds for the charities that serve these heroes, especially when it comes to things like mental health and job transition as the military begins to downsize.
Let's talk about the route. It starts in Killeen.
That's right. The full marathon is a point-to-point. It starts in Killeen and runs through some of the countryside in Bell County and ends up in Temple, and then we have a half marathon also and a 5K that people can join in and honor, and we have a bunch of volunteers. You know, we'll have over 500 volunteers on that day, probably 200 or 300 law enforcement and firefighters on course during that time, so it's going to be a great day.
That's fun. So if you're from the Central Texas area, then you get to see some new scenery, because a lot of races obviously happening around here in Central Texas, but you get to head a little bit north.
Absolutely. It's going to be really nice. In fact, the course takes you over Lake Belton Dam, where typically we've had boats out there cheering the runners on, so we call it the Army-Navy jokingly, and I know Rosie's going to have some great weather for us out there, so we can have those boats out there too again this year.
Yeah, they're probably going to be a little bit chillier, but I think runners like that.
Absolutely they do. It's a good day when it's chilly.
Yeah, and you haven't run in the official marathon, but you have run the track, the route,
course,
so to speak.
Absolutely.
You've tested it.
Somebody had to be the guinea pig, so I've run it, different parts of it in different directions to make sure, and we put it together with the help of some real good pros, and you know, we have some wonderful support out there, and it's going to be a wonderful, safe course the entire way.
Yeah, and if you make it to the finish line, which we know all of you will, then you get this awesome medal, some bling for you, which is really quite impressive. I'm sure they do a different design every year.
Absolutely. We do a different design. This year is the 50th anniversary of the commemoration of Vietnam, and so you see a lot of the Vietnam-themed colors, ribbons, and things like that. We're going to be honoring Vietnam veterans at the finish line, and it's a wonderful opportunity not only for our sponsors, but for the community to come together and honor guys who actually served, not just all of our heroes, but guys who served at a time when they weren't welcome back home. You know, we herald all of our soldiers and Marines coming back now as heroes. It wasn't always like that. And so we want to make sure and honor those guys, especially on the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War.
All right, thank you for coming in this morning. I know you drove in from Belton, so you had a little bit of a trip.
I
so
did.
We're glad you made it. And if you want to find out how you can take part next weekend, we're going to have a link to your website and how to sign up on our website at kxan.com.